and welcome to the IS update for this quarter. Thank you all for taking the time out to join us today. Today we have a pretty jam-packed update, so we're going to roll straight into it. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting today. For me, that's the Turrbal and Yagara people of the region now known as Brisbane. I'd like to acknowledge a deep connection to land, water, and culture, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and future. Today, as I said, we've got quite a large agenda. First off, I'd like to sort of talk to you about our latest tool, the IS planning tool. I'll then hand over to Owen Buckley to talk about more broadly the ratings and delivery side of the business. Ty Monberg will be talking to you about the updates from our technical team, as well as the IS Essentials update. Head of Market Development, Monique Eisenheim, we talk about our water and energy advisory groups. Claude O'Loughlin will be joining us from our learning and capability team. And then finally, Andrea Macris will be joining us from memberships and events. With that in mind, we might jump into it. And it is super exciting to kick off this ISAP update or IS update to announce that we have released the IS planning tool. This is a global first in terms of rating tools. It is the only one for infrastructure globally. And we are now welcoming registrations onto it. But before we sort of get into the detail of it, I thought I might talk a little bit about why we've developed this tool and how we've developed this tool. And then probably lead into where you can find more information. In terms of why we developed this tool, for some time now, our members have been talking about the need to embed sustainability early. And what we found as we started to look at this, the design and as-built phase, is that regularly we were losing opportunity around sustainability performance of assets. In 2020, in partnership with ClimateWorks, we released a paper that predominantly looked at carbon, but is reflective of what we found for sustainability. And that was that by the time we executed a design contract, we've lost up to 80% of the opportunity to achieve or drive sustainable outcomes. And if we take sort of the PAS 2080 view of the world, and I guess what is becoming a more common view of the world, is really by the time we decide whether we're building an asset or not, or whether there is an asset or not, we've already started on the journey of diminishing returns. So the IS planning tool has been designed to start looking at that problem and providing guidance, support, a framework to respond to, and obviously assurance of those outcomes at the earliest possible stages. With that in mind, I guess this journey started in 2017 when we released the IS Sustainability Rating Tool version 2.0. That was released into a pilot phase, predominantly through Main Roads WA. And really we were seeking feedback as to whether or not our considerations of the planning phase fitted the business case frameworks and stage gates of a planning process in the Australian and New Zealand context. And what we found through that pilot phase was that ultimately the answer was yes, it's driving great outcomes, but it isn't quite right in terms of framing. So over the last 2 years, what we've done is review all of that feedback, work with our planning technical working group, as well as a range of stakeholders to morph the version 2.0 planning manual into what we're releasing today, the IS version 2.1 planning rating. The key changes, firstly, was a streamlining of the manual itself and making sure that it connected effectively with Design and As-Built 2.1. But the second major change was this separation of the planning technical manual into 2 phases. Strategic planning rating, which aligns predominantly with the optioneering process, and then detailed planning rating. So once you've got your option or options, how do you then build out your sustainability consideration through that process? It is super exciting. So really what we are actually releasing is two rating phases, 2 phases you can achieve assurance on. The first one around your optioneering, and that really is a very different sort of setup to what you would be used to if you've dealt with our design and as-built manuals, in the fact that it is only 7 credits and it has a mandatory credit, which is something the IS rating tools generally don't have. And that's the economic credit. So really making sure that everything is building off that economic consideration, making sure that we're bringing in that broadest range of economic consideration at that earliest possible phase. The detailed planning rating is designed really effectively to make sure that you are maintaining your focus on the most material outputs or the most material opportunities from a sustainability perspective as you consider those options more broadly. That review process over the last 2 years, I'd like to put a shout out to my team, to Kerry, Declan, Adam, pardon me, and Gabriella and Ty for their review of the planning rating, but also a massive shout out to GHD, who were the consultant or contractor that really supported that review, and it really has been quite a phenomenal process with a really valuable contribution from GHD. So a very big thank you there. If you'd like to know more about the planning manual, there is a whole lot of resources and the technical manuals themselves are loaded into the ISAP resource page. If you scan that code, it will take you to the login. We will also be having a range of launch events where we will go into a lot more detail around the planning manual over the course of the next 6 months. So please keep in tune, keep an eye on our newsletters as we announce those dates. The first one will be in New South Wales in late October. So with that in mind, I might pass over to Owen Buckley, our General Manager of Ratings and Delivery, to give you the ratings and delivery update. Owen, over to you.
Thanks, Patrick, and it's great news that the planning rating tool has been released to market. We're looking forward to interest in that and how we can work with industry to ensure that sustainability is built in from the earliest stages. Patrick has introduced me. My name's Owen Buckley. I'm the General Manager for Ratings and Delivery within the ISC. I'm going to chat to you very briefly about what's happening with the Ratings and Delivery team before I hand over to Ty to talk to you about what's happening from the technical perspective. From my view or perspective, the most important part of my team are the people. They're the ones that assist you on a day-to-day basis to be able to deliver the ratings that you are delivering against your infrastructure projects. We've had some significant change over the course of the last 12 months, and I just wanted to highlight some of the new members that have joined the team or some role changes that have occurred in the last little while that are relevant to you as you engage with our team. So we've seen a few departures from the IS Ratings and Delivery team, with our regional lead for New Zealand departing, Tom Young, and Emily Mello has come into that role and is picking up the role very quickly and is doing a fantastic job in New Zealand. Abe was our senior technical advisor, and he has moved on from that position. We've been lucky to promote Gabriella into the senior technical advisor role, and also include Armin. He was recruited this year into a comparable role to Gabby's, and they're assisting Ty with the technical development and maintenance of the tools. Massimo and Gio were on the project side, a project coordinator and project manager in Victoria, and they've left us. We've brought on Suzanne Walker, who is a project manager in Victoria. We've had the opportunity to promote Adam Douglas from a project coordinator to a project manager, and Randini has joined us as a project coordinator as well, and she's based in Victoria. Finally, and the most recent addition to the team, Mosan has joined us as the IS administrator. As our current IS administrator, Zaka, is moving on to another opportunity within our business, and we're very excited about his progression and development. So I went to click the button to move to the next team, but someone's doing it on my behalf, so thank you. This is the Ratings and Delivery team. That's a typo, that shouldn't say technical. Ty is going to introduce you to the technical team, but this is what we look like at the moment. These are the people that you'll be engaging with in your project meetings, with your verification meetings, and any submissions that you have on. They'll be assisting you through your TCs and CIRs. The new additions to the team have brought a great deal of experience and knowledge from industry and outside the organisation, but the skill set that we already have within the team continues to grow, and the technical knowledge is fantastic. So please reach out to any of your project managers if you need anything at all. I'll do a brief recap on what's happened over the past 12 months for the ratings delivery business. We had close to 50 new registrations for projects over the course of the last 12 months, to the end of the financial year. We've seen the size of projects actually take an uptick as well, with the average size project over $1 billion in capital expenditure. Although we're going to start to see a shift of that into lower capital expenditure projects as a result of the IS Essentials tool coming online, and Ty will be speaking about that. We're also seeing a greater diversity in the the type of projects that are coming on. While we're still predominantly in road and rail, we had 4 new water projects over the course of the year, an airport footpath for a smaller project, 2 energy projects, a port and harbour, and then 40 of the projects were actually road and rail, which is our core business in many ways. Our move to other types of infrastructure assets is part of the strategic planning for the ISC, and because our tools are asset agnostic, we're very enthusiastic to ensure that sustainability impact occurs outside of just the transport sector. We celebrated 42 certifications in the year, and hopefully some of you had an opportunity to join us in conference and also at the certification dinner, because the celebration of certifications and the awards that were presented at conference really demonstrated the level of impact that you are all achieving through your projects, and hopefully assisted by using our tools. So some call outs in relation to the certifications. We had 5 version 2.0 certifications with 1 gold, 3 silver and 1 bronze. It's fantastic to see that as we iterate the tools over time, that the certifications that are occurring against some of the newer tools, and where we're hoping to see greater iterative improvement against impact for sustainability. Along similar lines, in the version 1.2 certifications, we saw 25 leading certifications, up significantly against 11 excellent certifications. So as time goes on, we're starting to see a greater impact being delivered, and that's being recognised through leading certifications, where the predominant number of certifications were leading in this last financial year. As we move to version 2.1, we might start to see a readjustment of what where people are landing, because we've iterated the tool to shift the benchmarks, but we're very much looking forward to seeing what that looks like. We already have 17 version 2.1 ratings underway, and I'll touch on the cutoff date for version 1.2 registrations, but we're very enthusiastic to see as many new projects as possible between now and the end of the calendar year registered for version 2.1, and taking that next step in the sustainability journey and delivering a rating at that level. In relation to certifications, we also saw 3 planning certifications, and predominantly still in version 1.2 design. So 22 were version 1.2 design, 13 in as-built, and we had 1 1.2 ops certification too. A significant achievement in industry and also for the ISC was the certification of the Marine Beacons project in North Queensland, which was the first certification for an IS Essentials project. We're very enthusiastic about the results of that. The fact that as there is a transition to smaller projects around the country, we will see that sustainability impact is considered and built in at the IS Essentials level, or for projects under $100 million. We've just seen another verification for an IS Essentials project, and that will be progressing through the rest of the process. So just some key dates to cover off before we move on. The 31st of December 2023 is the cutoff for all version 1.2 registrations. So after that date, we will not be accepting registrations for the version 1.2 design and as-built tool. As you will all know, the version 2.1 design and as-built tool has been live in the market for a number of years now, and we will be only accepting registrations against the version 2.1 tool in the next calendar year. Also relevant for you as you think about your planning in advance of Christmas, we're setting a 3rd of November cutoff for submissions to see verifications completed or feedback provided within the calendar year. Christmas can be somewhat of an arbitrary submission date. I don't know if you're working towards that, but if you are, that's a relevant date for you to consider as you work towards your submission. I don't have anything else for you today. Thank you for listening. Look forward to seeing you online or in person soon. And I'm going to hand over to Tyrell to give you the technical update. Thank you.
Yes, Owen, thank you very much. Welcome everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Ty Momberg. I'm the technical manager with the ISC. I see that some people have found the Q&A function, which is fantastic. Just a reminder, we will have some time at the end to try and answer those questions. And if we don't, we always circle back to you. So please do pop your questions as we go. Just a reminder, so thanks very much. Yeah, on the technical team, a reminder of who we are. We are led by Dr. Kerry Griffiths, then there's myself. We also have Gabby and Amin, who are the senior technical advisors, and Noel, who is our data analyst. And then again, a reminder that the ratings team work on technical items too. Next slide, please. Right, this is a summary of the technical work plan, and we are hard at work on a number of items. You can see they've been summarized into focus areas on the left and some examples of each of these on the right-hand side. The first focus area is rating tools, and the development work we are doing on IS Essentials and the planning tools are really good examples of these. And we're also now starting to think about scoping the update for the IS operations tool. The second focus area is support tools. We're working on a number of key developments to the IS materials calculator, and I have a slide on this coming up later. The third area is data analytics and management. We fully understand that data is playing an increasingly important role within the ISC and also within the industry, and we are spending a lot of time working on this. Technical governance is the fourth area, and the technical working groups is a really good example of this. And again, I have a slide later on. The last focus area is general tech support and management, and includes things like technical investigations and TCs and CIRs. Next slide, please. Great. So Pat gave a very thorough overview of the planning tool, and I'll just be focusing on some of the work that we're doing on Essentials. I think most people are aware of the work that's been done, so I'll keep it very high level. It's a new rating tool that we've been developing for smaller projects, which is, in our definition, as those under 100 million, and with a strong focus on local government. It's built from the 2.1 Design and As-Built Technical Manual, but with reduced complexity and scale. It's going to be the ISC's first digital rating, which is super exciting for us. And we are very, very grateful to the Westpac New Zealand Government Innovation Fund for their support during this process. As it says on the slide, we are still accepting pilot projects, so please reach out to us if you are interested. And we are looking to launch the full tool at the end of 2023. Next slide, please. Great. So as I was saying, there are about 10 major developments that we are working on to reduce the scale and complexity of the Essentials tool. Starting with fewer credits, we are then reducing and deleting and modifying credit criteria, updating the materiality assessment, etc., etc. I'm not going to go through each of these right now. The point is that we are working hard to reduce the scale and complexity, and we have finalized our approach for some of these items. So for example, with materiality assessment, we believe we've landed in a really good place with that to reduce the scale and complexity of the tool for smaller projects. And some of the other items, so for example, maybe templates and the digitalization and training, we're still working on these to finalize it by the end of the year. Next slide, please. Great, thanks. So in terms of the materials calculator, we're working on a number of developments, and I'm just going to talk you through two of the bigger ones that we're working on at the moment. Firstly, we are working on the major update to the tool to enable it to model both +A1 and +A2 EPDs in one consolidated calculator. We think that this is going to be a global first, and the Sustainable Materials Technical Working Group has done a lot of really good work in the space. The second item is our work with AECOM to update the New Zealand data in the back end of the calculator. So we're trying to make sure that this data is up to date and relevant as possible, and a big shout out to AECOM. And at the same time, while all of this is going on, we're also looking to finalize the digitalization of the materials calculator. So a lot's happening in this space. Next slide, please. Thank you. Technical working groups. So this is a key area of focus under technical governance for us. The 6 technical working groups were started in January 2022, and they're now really well established and hard at work on a number of specific work plan items, and you can read through those on the slide. So just a high level couple of examples. The Planning Technical Working Group and Essentials Technical Working Group have been helping to shape the new tools that are being developed, and that's through commenting on documents and really undertaking kind of a peer review of some of the work as we go, which has been fantastic. The Design and As-Built Technical Working Group is exploring the idea of templates and user notes, and the Proponent Technical Working Group is progressing a paper on how to contractualize an IS rating, and that's really written by industry for industry. The next meetings are in November, and we are looking to wrap up a number of these items at that point. Next slide, please. Excellent. As some of you may know, technical clarifications and credit interpretation requests are a key part of our continuous improvement and tool maintenance processes. We are incredibly proud of the hard work that the technical team and the ratings team have put into resolving these items, and also incredibly proud of the reduced time taken to do so. So you can see that green curve that just illustrates the improvement in average resolution times taken to deal with, to kind of resolve TCs and CRRs. Next slide, please. Thank you. Rulings. So as you can see, there are a number of ruling registers that have been published since March 2023, which is the last time we shared this update with this forum, and Rev 48 was published a few days ago. There was one ruling across all the tools, which corrects the calculation formula in the innovation challenge for high clinker substitution. But please check the latest rulings register on ISAP resources and make sure that you are up to date on all of these. Next slide, please. Great. The version 1.2 design and as-built work plan is another part of our continuous improvements and tool maintenance processes. The intent of this particular work plan is to identify and prioritize areas for development. But as you can see from the review principles, the idea is to review but not transform the current 1.2 tool. As Owen was saying, this is registrations do end at the end of the year for this tool. We are looking to deal with reoccurring issues, but we don't want to rewrite the tool, and we are looking to use aspects of the 2.1 credits where possible. And then my final slide, thank you, just shows the current credits on the work plan and the progress to date. Again, please make sure to check the latest rulings register on ISAP resources so that you are up to date on all of these. I'm now going to be handing over to Monique. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ty, and hi everyone. My name is Monique Isenheim. I'm head of market development, and I would like to give you a bit of an update on our water and energy advisory groups. So water and energy are our priority areas for growth. As Owen has mentioned, the majority of our ratings are in the transport sector, but we acknowledge that there's a lot of potential impact in the water and energy sector. So we have, over the last year or so, convened a water advisory group with the aim to enable infrastructure sustainability leadership in the water sector. And that really came out of the appreciation that the water sector works slightly different than the transport sector. And therefore, we really wanted to bring together a community of practice that helps us understand best practice and help support industry transition and work really collaboratively to support capacity building and to also review our tools and make recommendations back to the ISC, but also back to the sector. So this is why we've convened the group. And in terms of, next slide, please. In terms of who we are, or who we were, we had a really good representation of the water sector. We had water authorities and local councils, industry associations, and consultants, and all coming together doing this work. Just next slide, please. Thank you. And yes, so as I said, over the past 14 months or so, we had an initial kickoff meeting to define what the problems and questions are that we would like to look into. So going a bit diverging and then bringing it all together in a work plan, and then assigned responsibilities and then diverged again and had people look at different elements of the work plan, then bringing it all back together and had conversations about the insights that we gained, and then also came up with recommendations to both the ISC and the sector. When we go to the next slide, yep, next slide. The things that we looked at, without going into all the detail, but high level, we looked at the water sector specifics. So what are the types of assets, the sizes, the numbers, to really understand what the footprint and the potential impact are. We had a look at the status quo of sustainability best practice. What are the tools and frameworks and strategies that are in place? And what are the potential benefits of using IS ratings, how applicable they are, and what kind of ROI is to be expected. And then coming to the next slide. So again, without going into all of the detail, but having gained a huge amount of insight, we have then come up with some recommendations which were prioritized, and they were really across the board from relatively high level. So to give you an example, we have learned that water projects are typically much smaller than transport projects. And so looking at the ability to group projects into one, or having a tool for smaller projects like IS Essentials, which we are working on, thankfully, all the way down to looking really at it credit by credit and digging in and seeing if there's any guidance that could be helpful for the water sector specifically. And then going to the next slide. As I mentioned, we consolidated them all into a report back to the ISC. And then what you see on the right-hand side, which looks slightly confusing, but not going into detail there, that's part of the governance process that explains how stakeholder feedback is involved in the development of the tools and the continuous improvement processes. So that's where we are at right now. We're reviewing all the recommendations, and then we'll go back to the group with a response saying which of the actions we are going to take on and in what time frame, and then start the implementation. So I should say along the way as well, we didn't only just stick our heads together and worked hard, we also had a lot of external engagement. So we had a fair amount of speakers at conferences, both our own conference and external conferences. We did a lot of outreach to associations and interest groups. So it was very much working together as a team, but also reaching out further. And we're hoping to continue this external engagement as the work of the group formally concludes. And that leads me to what we're doing next, and that's the Water Energy Advisory Group, following a very similar initial idea that we really want to make sure that all energy sector is, all energy infrastructure is built in a sustainable way. And so we're initially taking a very similar approach, but that doesn't mean that we're going to do exactly the same as we've done with the water sector. In fact, we really want not the ISC going and saying, this is what we're going to do, but we really want this to come out of the group from the conversations. What are the priority areas that they want to look into? And then we'll build the work plan around that. And I should say, really, we've started with the Water Advisory Group, and it was called the advisory group, but in fairness, it really was a working group, and a lot of people have created tremendous value by really putting some work into this and getting help from their organizations and externals, and that's extremely valuable. So in a way, we do want to replicate the model, but acknowledging that the energy sector looks different to the water sector. So we'll be open to how that looks like. And I guess that leads me to the last slide, or second last slide. We'll be focusing on renewable energy generation, transmission, and distribution, purely because that's the most value-aligned areas and where there's also a lot of movement and energy. No pun intended. We're also looking to have a broad representation of the sector. It's a big ecosystem, and you can see that we've already got a few members confirmed. And we still have initial conversations. And so that's where I guess my call out is, if you're interested in hearing more and potentially getting involved, please reach out. My email address is there. We can have a chat and see what your thoughts and ideas are, and if you're happy to be involved. So yeah, looking forward to speaking if you're interested. Thank you, and handing over to Claude, I think. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you so much, Monique. My name is Claude O'Loughlin. I'm the Learning Consultant at the IS Council. Next slide, please. We've got a few things to go through today, but the first thing I'd like to start with is we're thrilled to announce that the IS Council has been selected as a proud recipient as a grant from the New South Wales Government to champion and advance the New South Wales Women in Construction strategy. The objective of the programme is to support industry initiatives that will encourage female participation and retention in the construction industry throughout the whole supply chain by increasing the number of women entering and staying in the industry. Looking to support female leadership, female employees, and creative, inclusive workplace cultures by improving employee well-being and supporting flexible working arrangements. With women making up only 12% of the construction workforce, this funding will support a significant step forward in our collective commitment to promoting workforce diversity and inclusion, fostering leadership, and embracing sustainability within the construction industry. The initiatives include infrastructure sustainability skills, careers and pathways, women in sustainable construction, leadership mentoring program, and the workplace culture training. Next slide, please. So there are plenty of ways for you to get involved with this. As we embark on the research skills required of IS professionals, we require your input. To contribute to the research by telling us about your skills, your career pathways, and your vision for the future of the profession, can you please complete the survey? There's a QR code here for you to scan, and you can complete that on your phone while I'm talking to you. It's of the utmost importance that we get as much feedback as possible for this report to be robust and impactful and to make a real difference to the industry. Next slide, please. The second part of this process is the Women in Construction, Sustainable Construction Leadership Mentoring. We have a mentoring program happening, A mentoring program happening. The applications close on the 7th of November and the program commences on the 7th of December. The applications are now open as of yesterday. And if you scan that QR code, that will give you a link to the information webinar, or you can download the Women in Sustainable Construction Handbook, which is coming soon. More details are on that slide there. Eligibility: mentors must be senior leaders of any gender, and mentees must be women based in New South Wales. So if you or somebody you know might want to take part in that, I would encourage you to share that with your extended community. Next slide, please. For workplace culture, we are creating an e-learning module as part of this, which we would love to receive expressions of interest for individuals who would be interested in taking part in a pilot program, looking at gaining early access to workplace culture training that can serve as an onboarding resource, a refresher for all employees, or as a commitment to driving real culture change in construction as we strive for an inclusive and thriving workforce. The QR code is there if you would like to put your name up for that. Next slide, please. And here are all 3 registration QR codes in case you missed one of them. We would really, really encourage you to get involved and get your voice into this program. Next slide, please. Now, we are introducing the IS planning training, which is coming up, and we're going to give you a very quick taster of this training with this short video. Take it away. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next slide, please. So that was just a taster of what we have in store for you for IS planning training. As Pat mentioned, the launch of the new IS Planning 2.1 technical manual has been received with a great deal of excitement. And we are so excited at the training team to present the IS planning training that's going to support you, on implementing the IS planning rating and the outcomes enabled for design and as-built. Here are some of the different areas that you're going to be looking at. The trainer is Meg Rickson. And we have a number of training contributors that we're delighted to promote and to share with you as part of the training. The first date of that is Thursday, the 26th of October. You must first have completed IS rating skills, or you must be a current ISAP. Please get in touch with us at the training team at training@iscouncil.org for any more information. Next slide, please. Now, as part of the IS planning training launch, we'd love to describe to you some changes in the IS for Professionals pathway in January 2024. So if new ISAPs are looking to onboard with us and train as an ISAP, there have been a few changes to the process, which for existing ISAPs, there'll be very little difference. You will just be renewing as usual every year. Well, for new ISAPs, our IS for Professionals pathway has taken on a small change. So the core IS for Professionals, IS Rating Skills, which includes IS Foundations, has stayed the same. The standard is the part that's taken on a small change. So for example, if you are looking to take IS planning training and you've already completed IS Rating Skills, you will do the training, which is 5 hours virtual instructor led with a lot of extra resources that are ubiquitous that you can complete anytime, anywhere. Once you've completed that, you will take a small exam and receive an IS planning certificate. From there, to become an ISAP, you will then take an ISAP accreditation exam, which covers the more broad infrastructure sustainability principles as part of ISAP accreditation. If you are looking to become an ISAP and undergo design and as-built training, you will take the pathway as shown below. So you will do IS Rating Skills, take design and as-built training. As part of design and as-built training, we will include essentials training, which I will talk to a little bit more after this. And you will take a short exam to receive a design and as-built certificate. And from there, you will take an ISAP accreditation exam. And from there, you will do your ISAP renewal. So for existing ISAPs, very little has changed. You will just continue to do your renewal as always. If you would like to pick up a standard a standard course or standard training, you can just opt to do that training, receive your certificate, and you won't need to take any more action other than your ISAP renewal. So you will receive your planning certificate, design and as-built certificate, essential certificate or operations certificate, depending on the rating you choose to train in. Next slide, please. This exam, it's a little bit longer and it covers all things IS rating scheme. It will require exploration through the ISAP resources, including the technical manuals. On successful completion, you will receive an accreditation certificate, which is exactly the same as the accreditation certificate you receive now. Next slide, please. The certificate of completion for the different rating schemes. It's a little bit simpler and it is a certificate of completion. So you need to complete 2 exams depending on which rating you decide to train in. Next slide, please. Now, we're delighted to speak to IS Essentials, which we are hoping to launch in January as part of the Go Live. So IS Essentials is going to be now included as part of design and as-built training. The differences between design and as-built and essentials are no base case. It's an overview of IS Essentials. We're going to talk about the adjusted modified credit criteria, the materiality assessment and how different that is, and we're going to dive into the digital platform. You will then, as we've described, take an IS Essentials quiz and receive an IS Essentials certificate. This is going to be as part of the design and as-built training, and it's going to be included as part of that training, which I think anyone is going to be pretty pleased about. And we're going to take a quick look at a small sample of that training. Next slide, please. Thank you so much. And finally, the ISC Learning and Capability team is introducing a new learner profile piece called the Learner Spotlight Series. This is an invitation-only short survey where participants share their sustainability learning journey and professional trajectory. by showcasing your career and implementation of learning undertaken with the IS Council or elsewhere, and how you applied your IS learnings to your role. We really hope to use this to influence the next generation of sustainability infrastructure professionals. If you've undergone training, you will receive an email. It's an exclusive opportunity for you to showcase your profile within industry through the IS Council's social media and communication avenues. Thank you so much. Over to you, Andrea.
Thank you, Clodagh. And welcome, everybody. Thank you. It's a pleasure to join you from the lands of the Bidjigal people here in Southwest Sydney. It's my pleasure to provide a short membership and events update today before we close out our session with an opportunity to answer some of your questions. I can see that some of you have put some questions into the Q&A widget that you can see at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to pop in any additional questions now. And our team will surely answer as many of those as we can get to before we close out at 1. Otherwise, we will follow up after the session, as Ty mentioned earlier. Thank you to all of our ISC member organisations who have joined today's session. Our membership community of practice is inclusive of the entire value chain and includes about 230 members, from proponents to consultants and from contractors to suppliers. A warm welcome and special shout out to the following members who have joined us in recent months. We have in the proponents category, Regional Growth New South Wales, Marinus Link, Gateway, the Gascoyne Gateway Limited, Gladstone Area Water Board, TasWater and Tas Networks. In the operators category, we have Keolis Downer, Consultants, Synergic Advisory, Hunter Environmental Consulting, Pitt and Sherry and Niche Environment and Heritage. From the contractors and constructors category, we have Demand Plumbing and Civil, Samsung, B&K Revegetation, DT Infrastructure, RE3 Construction Waste Remediation, Boygs Construction and CMC. And then in suppliers, we have Innate Project Management Software. So thank you all for joining our membership community of practice. For those that are not yet members and who have joined our webinar today, and for those of you who are members and would like a bit of a refresher of the benefits of the membership that you can take advantage of, member benefits include that opportunity to collaborate, network and engage. So you've joined a large and dedicated community of practice. We have quite a number of publications and events for you to connect and network around, and forums and webinars like this one, and of course our major conferences. Knowledge, learning and capability that Clodagh so generously touched on there. Investing in sustainability, we believe, is the leadership competency of our time. So it really does pay to invest in your team and the professional development of individuals and the entire organisation. As a member, you get exclusive membership rates for all of our training courses, be they individual training or group training sessions, and bespoke training courses are available specifically for your teams and for your particular requirements. Advocacy, influence and impact. So collaborating through our technical working groups, our advisory groups and coalitions, through our thought leadership partnerships, all really do contribute to that sectoral change and the systemic change that we're all working towards in step together. There are lots of opportunities for you to participate as an individual or as an organisation towards progressing those very important areas. Next slide, please. Membership really is a very strong signal to market of your commitment to sustainability outcomes, and of course to providing that assurance, measuring what matters and demonstrating exactly what it is that you're hoping to achieve. We provide assured metrics through the scheme, as you all are very much aware, and it's that commitment that is really demonstrated through collaborating, connecting through your membership and being as engaged as you can. And then, of course, access to opportunities as a member and that preferential pricing is of great value. If you are interested in becoming a member and you aren't, that's the link there. But if you would also like to just have a one-to-one discussion with myself or any of the membership team, there's Jane Nichols, the Chief Engagement Officer, and we have a Membership Relations Manager and Coordinator. We're all available to help you to get the most out of your membership. So if you'd like to set up some time with us, please do reach out. We are here for you. And that is all in terms of that element. On the next slide, I'll just go through a really quick highlight of our previous year in terms of events and also what's coming up in the year ahead. So in FY23, we really did expand our events program in a very fulsome way to incorporate not just the annual conferences and symposiums across Australia and New Zealand, but also regional state-by-state events, certification events, networking events across major cities. Add to that our roundtables, focus groups and webinars just like this one, all designed to build out our connections, our knowledge and capability. So highlights for the year that we are still in include a total of 33 events, 21 in-person and 12 virtual, and that female to male speaker ratio that we're quite proud of. As you can see there, quite a few regional events delivered. And then looking ahead, we'll certainly be expanding again as the team grows and as our membership community also grows. So looking at touch points from a number of different perspectives. So IS planning, the roadshow is set to commence late 23 and to go into early 24 to build awareness and build engagement around this very important new tool. The WA Symposium will be complemented by a suppliers event, specifically looking at the opportunities for procurement and suppliers to come together. So that event will be delivered in March next year. We have the New Zealand conference coming up in Wellington next year. That'll be in May. And then the Australian annual conference and awards program will be held in October at a venue to be determined. And that'll be our major event for next year. Of course, we'll be hosting a series of knowledge sharing and networking events around the country. So please do reach out to myself or any of the team if you would like to participate, sponsor, present, or in any way get involved in our events program. And that is all for the formal presentation component of today's webinar, but I will now open out to questions from yourselves. We have, I think, 6 questions in our Q&A widget, which is fantastic. I will look at 2. I think some have already been answered, which is fantastic, but I'll just pull out as many as we can get through in the remaining 8 minutes. So Sid Bishnoi has asked, do members get visibility over data analysis and what are the timelines for digital materials calculator? Is it going to be a new version altogether or digital version of the current calculator? I might pass to you, Ty, for that one.
I think Pat was going to answer that
Oh,
one.
Patrick, my
That's a
apologies.
great question,
Thank you.
Sid.
Well, good. I'd love to see you, Sid. So ultimately, I think there's probably 2 parts to this. There's materials calculator and there's more broader digitalization. And I think I saw a couple of questions from Hope and a few others talking about some of the administrative challenges of submitting a rating. So probably 2 things. Firstly, from a digital perspective, we will have our first digital product being released to market in December in IS Essentials. And some of that is really focused on addressing the administrative challenges and starting to streamline the submission process as well as the verification process. When we get to the materials calculator, we are looking at a drop dead date of the digital materials calculator at the end of January, although we are on track. It's crossed for a little bit earlier. And that has a multitude of changes to it. So it is not just a replication of the Excel spreadsheet. There will be updates to emission factors, but there will also be several changes to the back end of the materials calculator, which will allow for greater EPD uptake as well as a smoother transition towards the A1, A2 considerations, which we expect to be embedded in the materials calculator in the next calendar year. In terms of access to data, we do data analytics for your organization, but also more broadly. And if you'd like to know more about how to access that or how to utilize some of that service, please reach out to me outside of the update, and I'm more than happy to have that conversation around what we can do with you. I think that responds to most of the pieces of the question. Sid, if there's any further questions, please just give me a call or drop me an email.
I was just going to add one thing about the data. So we do have the impact report, which we bring out every year, and there's a lot of really good data in there. that we've been putting together, and that's going to keep going and just get better. So we are already doing a lot of it, but as Pat said, we can do more. So do please reach out to us. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, a couple of questions for you, Clodagh, in relation to essentials training. You may have touched on this in your section, but I'll just point out from Shannon, we have, will existing ISAPs be able to upskill for free on IS Essentials? And I'm already accredited in Design and As-Built 1.2. How can I get essentials training now? Could you pull those together into one answer? Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. So if you're accredited in 1.2, it would be valuable to take the ISAP accreditation training, depending on when you did it. At the moment, we do not have a free upgrade or free upskill to Essentials, but it is something that we would certainly consider in the future, depending on what the what the demand is for it. So if we receive a number of applications from ISAPs who are looking to undergo Essentials ratings, then we would certainly consider including it. We're also happy to make different training resources available to individuals on a case-by-case basis. So I think the answer is it depends on your circumstances. And if we have enough uptake on that, we would certainly consider doing something like that in the future.
Thank you, Clodagh. Will there be any ops training coming up soon, noting that the rating will be undergoing an update?
At present, we do not have any operations training scheduled for the remainder of the for the remainder of this year until December. But I believe that if we have enough interest, then we could certainly consider putting on some a session of operations training. If it would be possible, if you are interested in operations training, would you please be able to send us an email to training@iscouncil.org, and we might be able to consider putting on a session if we have enough uptake. That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Great.
Sorry, Andrew, I might just jump in there. In terms of the operations review, nothing will commence around the operations review other than some internal project planning until the new financial year. So in terms of the operations update, it is still a ways off. So it is not something that we will be flipping on a new version in the near future.
Thank you, Pat. Ty, another one for you. What is the technical team doing in data analytics space? What's in the work plan currently and into the future?
Yeah, great question. So I guess for anyone who's been involved in, I guess, infrastructure and projects and IS ratings knows that no two projects are alike. And what we do have at the moment is we have a large number of projects, which has been fantastic, have been submitted. So what we're currently doing is we are currently trying to sort through all the data that we have internally and try and make this as consistent as possible in terms of cleaning it up and analyzing it. So that's one big piece of work that's going on at the moment. The second part is actually developing the plan and thinking about that into the future. And at the moment, we're still developing the plan, but a big part of that's going to be reaching out to our members and finding out what is of interest to them and what types of things they want to know. And then probably the third part is thinking about how we can use this data to try and set benchmarks into the future. That's probably a much longer term thing, but ultimately that's where we hope to be going in the distant future. Hopefully that answers that.
Thank you so much. I think that concludes the time we have for our Q&A, but as I mentioned, we will follow up on any unanswered questions straight after this session. I'll hand back to Pat to see us out.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Andrew. And thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate both your interest and ongoing support of the ISC. In terms of this webinar, we would really appreciate your feedback. You will all receive a survey. We really do want to continuously improve. That is absolutely core to the mantra of the ISC. So if you could please provide us your feedback, it would be greatly appreciated. Other than that, we look forward to seeing you all in the range of activities and opportunities to engage over the coming 12 months. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll catch you soon.